Welcome in everyone to Pro Football Enterprises YouTube channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this video. We'd love to hear your feedback and your opinions about the whole Terry McLaurin situation. Obviously, news just came out within the past hour and a half or so, 2 hours, that Terry McLaurin has requested a trade amid contract negotiations for an extension with the Washington Commanders. Instant reaction from me was that this is a negotiation tactic, that they are still rather far apart on a deal, and that this was the next step, right? We've already had the holdout, then he reported to camp, but he's been one of those hold in. He's on the physically unable to perform list, and we're just kind of waiting it out. After practice is over, he's going out. He's shaking hands with people. He's signing autographs for the kids. He's doing his thing to save face and all that. But ultimately, this is the in these types of negotiations, we're not foreign to this, that the trade request is next in the progression. So I don't want to say I'm totally surprised, but I'm surprised that it has gotten to this point. Like I thought this would have been taken care of. Not surprised about that we're at this point in the negotiation, like based on everything that's happened so far, but I thought this would have been taken care of months ago, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen this knocked out by, late spring, early summer. I realize draft season's a busy season. People don't want to take care of stuff then. I get it. But yeah, you really don't. You asked me 3 or 4 weeks ago, when would I start being concerned? Well, now I'm officially concerned, right? Now it's a
Right.
real thing that he could not be here. And again, first glance, this could just be leverage negotiation ploys, but I don't think he would say it unless he was actually to some degree willing to move on to the next city in a trade. So, yes, I am concerned. I don't like this. This is not a good place to be. This is distracting. This is not a good place to be, especially with your, now second most prominent player on the team. Now that Jaden Daniels has really taken into the spotlight, but this is not where you want to be. So I'm not happy about this. But there's a lot to break down, and there's every chance that McLaurin could still be on the team for years to come. There's also every chance now that he might not be.
Yeah, unfortunately, the part about this that especially is affecting him is that if I recall, or if you recall rather, I told you a couple weeks ago about that there was this press conference during a commercial or after a commercial shooting for a local dealership, the Eastern Motors commercial, and he had like this 30-minute press conference with all the local beat reporters, and he just poured his heart out, right? And he was taking this very personally. I mean, very personally.
Yeah.
And it's bad when that happens because when you let your emotions get into the way of business, then I'm not saying this is his fault. I'm not saying that right now. I'm trying to stay as neutral as possible while also injecting some of my opinion. But when you let that happen, things get really messy and you start taking things personally, it just gets far worse, especially when it drags out like this.
It does. I'm telling you, we've seen it several times. Chris Jones, bless his heart, of the Chiefs, we saw a similar thing a couple of seasons ago, and it worked out for him. He hit the field without a contract that year, without a long-term contract, I mean, and I advised him not to do it. He went and did it anyway. It worked out for him, but you run that risk of injury. So I don't blame Terry for not wanting to get on the field without a long-term contract. I'm totally fine with that part of it, but you're right. Once players, and I understand these players have not been, for the most part, through the business and negotiation sides of this, especially, the long, drawn out negotiation side. Usually, when they're 26, it's not always that difficult to get a contract knocked out, right? When you're 25, 26, it's just like bang, bang. Hey, we love you. You love me. Money's on. Now that you're at 29, 30 brackets, it's always more complicated. But the players often take this personally. I remember John Schneider, GM for the Seattle Seahawks, saying something similar. He said, so often, it's not personal for us. We're just doing what's best for the team, what we think is best for the team. It's our everyday business, it's our jobs. But the player, of course, is going to take it personally because it only involves him. And I get that. I understand. It can feel like you and your agent against the world, right? It's not. But that's often what it feels like. So I do understand the emotions getting involved here, but that always makes it worse, man, because the team is not trying to screw you. The team is trying to do what it thinks it needs to do to win, whether that includes paying you a lot or a little or trading you. That's what the team is about. I mean, everybody likes you, everybody wants you here, but there are limits.
So this is a particularly difficult negotiation for a number of reasons, but I think the prime couple of reasons are the lack of truly elite performance. Um, i- if you were to ask Terry what his biggest weakness is as a player, he would probably say he lacks the elite ability of getting separation. Okay, of creating separation, not manufactured, by the offense, by the play caller, by the offensive design.
Yeah,
Also age. That is a big part here. He's about to turn
yes,
30. At the end of this final year of his deal, he'll be 31. Okay. So age is playing a factor into this. We see a similar situation unfolding in Cincinnati with Trey Hendrickson, where he's, I think, the same age, and he's wanting top level money, and the Bengals are like, no, you're not doing that. And it appears that Washington is having the same stance where we're not going to pay you top flight money when your prime years are either running out or they have ran out. Now, I don't believe that that's the case with Terry. I think he has another solid, as long as he can stay healthy, which there's no reason to believe that he won't. He has another solid 2 to 3 seasons left, and that's worth a lot with the way that the team is structured currently, with Super Bowl aspirations, which that just still sounds crazy to say, but and with a quarterback on a rookie deal. So those are the big things, and we have two recent events that have kind of put this situation in an even more difficult spot, right? So we had the Pittsburgh Steelers and trade for DK Metcalf and gave him an extension that is on the screen here, 132 million over 4 years, 60 million guaranteed. Okay. To me, in the moment, that sounded like a lot for DK Metcalf. Um, and he's 2 years younger than Terry. Okay, but same draft class. I would say similar performance, probably not as impressive as Terry's performance. Also, I believe DK Metcalf has dealt with more injuries over the course of his career. But I would say similar production. I would say Terry's the better receiver, if I'm being honest. DK's the more physically gifted, maybe more of a game wrecker than Terry is, but Terry's the more consistent guy, more clutch guy. I think a more polished receiver than DK Metcalf is, but similar, right? So it's like, okay, when this deal happened, it's like, okay, is Terry gonna want 33? Like, there's no way Terry wants 33, right? Like, there's that doesn't even sound right, right? Like when Jamar Chase just got paid 40, and there's other receivers that got paid more. It's like he's not in that class though, right? It just looks like the Steelers overpaid. But the market is the market, and that is what it is. So it's like, okay, he's getting maybe around 30 to 32, around that range. That sounds like the sweet spot, right? Then 2 days ago, Cortland Sutton, he gets a new deal in Denver. Now, granted, he took the quote unquote high road and said, "Well, I left money on the table. I didn't do it, just for me. I did it for the whole team." He's like, "There's more contracts coming up, and I wanted to be a team player." So he's getting 23 AAV, 92 million over 4 years, 41 million guaranteed. Now, I don't know how do you feel about that, right? I, because now it's like, okay, Terry is better than Cortland Sutton and at least equal, at the very least, to DK Metcalf. And while he's 2 years older, you don't really think he's worth 33 million, but you know for a fact he's worth more than 23. Okay, because if you look at his current deal, it's this pretty much the same as Cortland's deal. It's almost the same, and it was signed 3 years ago. So he's somewhere between DK and he's somewhere between Cortland Sutton. Where in between is the argument. And I think that's what the team is having problems with. And I think that's what Terry and his representation is having problem with, is where does he fit in that line? So that is the big question. I want your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it because, again, those are the two most recent contracts. One of the biggest problems that I have with today's current NFL, and you see this the most with quarterback contracts, but it's filtered into some of the other positions, is this idea of market topping. Is, hey, I have to get more than the last guy, and I just think that's just so foolish. I cannot for the life of me get a hold of that. But that is the market we're dealing with. So until it can change, you're dealing with that, which that would be the DK Metcalf. Again, not the Jamar Chase deal. We know he's not going to top that. But that would be the most recent guy who's close to me. I should get more than him, right? That's the song everybody's singing, right? And, I don't like that, but that is what we're dealing with. So that's why I'm sure Terry is thinking I should be topping DK Metcalf. Now, player comparison, real quick. I think he is way better than Cortland Sutton, and therefore, in a true market, should be getting more money than Cortland Sutton. I don't think that's even close. I personally think that while he may not be as gifted as DK Metcalf, he has outperformed DK Metcalf over the past few years. I mean, Metcalf is a beast physically, but hasn't ever hit that true top end statistical performance. And I think Terry McLaurin has got every bit of, of, of juice out of his abilities. I think he's maxed it out. So that's a problem. In my opinion, he is asking for what DK got or a little bit more. And I think he should be way up closer to where DK is getting. The problem is DK in the latest kind of get more than the last guy got. DK is getting more than the other guys got, right? Because DK thinks, hey, I'm up here in this realm too, not the Jamar Chase realm, but hey, this next tier of receivers, I should be getting 33 a year. Then you have the Steelers who were kind of desperate to bring somebody in for wide receivers. So you have those two things driving up the DK price. And now Terry wants the DK price, right? Or something like it, according to reports that we're hearing, right? So that's why it's pushing up. Now, ultimately, we'll get into this. I don't really have a problem with Terry getting that higher end number here. But clearly, in terms of framing where both teams are at or where both sides are at, Terry wants somewhere in the DK 33 realm. And the team, while I'm sure they're not offering, I hope they're not offering 24. By all the reports that you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, it doesn't sound like they've climbed over the $29 million mark. Maybe they're even substantially less than that. I don't know. The one thing I will say as far as DK goes, he got a 4-year deal because he's younger. So I expect Terry to get a 3-year deal. So the AAV can be played with a little bit there since you're offering a 3-year deal to one guy and a 4-year deal to the other guy, right?
Hmm.
And then Cortland Sutton, who's already hitting that 30-year-old bracket in terms of age, he gets his deal, which is worth a lot less, but that's because, again, age and talent. So I think that's a great way to frame it. And then we can talk about where you and I ultimately think it ought to end up here in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so this is I do agree that I think he's more in the DK, or he should be getting paid closer to the DK range than the Cortland Sutton range,
Yeah,
because he's not going through all of this to get paid the exact same contract again.
right,
He's not going
right,
to do that, right?
right,
Like if you were to offer him this same exact contract, he's going to laugh in your face, right?
right,
And rightfully so, right? You don't ask, I mean, based on the way that the cap grows and that these contracts, I mean, you're basically taking a pay cut, right? I mean, that's essentially what it is. Um, e- to me, this might be more about the guaranteed dollars than the actual AAV, right? Because that's really, at the end of the day, that's really what all these contracts just come down to is the guaranteed money. You could say, oh, I'm getting paid, 35, $36 million a year, but it's like if only a third of that is guaranteed, right? Like the Cortland Sutton deal, that one perplexes me because I don't even think a full 2 years of that is guaranteed. And
right,
it's a 4-year extension, right? So that
right.
that part is like that doesn't really seem like a great deal for for Cortland Sutton, but I mean for the team, yeah, it's great, but for him, I mean he's really banking on that he's going to be healthy playing these games, right? But I think that the starting point for Terry is probably around 60 to 65 million guaranteed. So, you do your math there, that's at least 2 full years guaranteed. And if I'm the team, because I have a little bit extra room, I'm pushing as much guaranteed dollars into this year and to next year in a new deal, right? Than I am trying to push all that back. I mean, to me, that would just be good business, good financials to push as much guaranteed money to the front of the contract. That way you're not on the hook for it later. Maybe he's trying to get closer to 3 years guaranteed, which that would seem a little greedy given his age, because he has to be honest with himself. It's like, okay, we haven't seen a decline yet. We probably won't for another at least 2 years. But that's not to say that an ACL tear, which unfortunately is just part of the business, or a dislocated ankle or something of that nature won't completely derail your career. I mean, like as we know it, right? Like you might still be a good receiver, but you're not going to be who you are now. And even then, there's debate on where you fall amongst your contemporaries. There's massive debate there. Um, I mean, we can pull up and look at his market value. Right, market value, right? I mean, Spot Rack, I've never really fully trusted their ability to uh calculate player salaries, but this to me this feels very low. Um, but either way, I don't think Terry's going through all this to just get paid 24.5 million. I think it's closer or exceeding 30 million.
Yeah, I would agree. There's so much to unwrap here, and there's never one. I say there's almost never one deciding factor. Usually, there's several things going on here. I love Spot Track. Matter of fact, we're taking several numbers from Spot Track here, so thank you, Spot Track. Just to give full credit here. But the 24 and a half is too low. That's just never a number that's ever going to happen. Terry would never and doesn't have to sign a contract for 24 and a half AAV. So again, I'm sure they've got a reason for why they landed on that spot. They do this every day of their lives over at Spot Track. So I'm sure they've got reasons for why they came up with this number here. But again, when you and I look at it, we see how good Terry is, specifically how good he's been for Washington, when Washington has been just awful for years, but especially, just how good he is on his own. When you look at that, he should, I really feel like he should be over $30 million based on what we've seen in the market. You mentioned that sweet spot being maybe around 32, and this is where, again, the age thing's a huge factor too. We've seen the Kansas City Chiefs, when a player hits 29 or 30, they do not like to re-sign those guys, even if they're good players. Chris Jones was an exception. I believe they had one other recent exception, but by and large, 80% of their players, they're good players, big name players. When they hit 29, 30, they trade them, they move on. Kansas City does not like to hang on to guys 29 and older at big dollar numbers, right? They'll sign them at the lower numbers, but not the big dollar numbers. Other teams, and that's fine, because when you're 29 to 30, when you're in your ninth NFL year, that's statistically when the drop off happens, regardless of position. Players are so different, though. When is Terry going to drop off? It might be 2 seasons from now, right? There's just no way to know. I'm sure on the team side of this, that's a big factor as to what they're really willing to offer, whether that's 29, 30, whatever. But what I've seen over the years here, we go about 25 years now. Players often themselves don't care too much about the guaranteed number. The team does. The players want that average annual value number to be bigger than the guy they think they're better than. All right. So that's usually their number one concern. I'm better than that guy. My average annual value should be higher than that guy. I'm not going to get hurt. I'm really good. I'm going to be good for as long as I want to be good. That's the way they think. They don't think there's a drop off coming. They don't think there's an injury coming. They plan on being amazing. They plan on being on the field. They plan on just kicking tail for the next 2, 3, 4 years. They want that average annual value. The agent feels differently. He wants to be able to walk. We'll get into this in a second. He wants to walk around and show everybody what he's done, right? What I did for
Hmm.
this player, that player, the other player. The
Yeah.
team, though, and this is where I'm at and you're at, the guaranteed money is the big thing. Am I on the hook here for a season and a half's worth of money or 2 seasons worth of money? Or am I now being asked to basically stake out 3 years at a cap level of $33 million a season? That's where I'm out. We can set that AAV almost anywhere you want if I'm not guaranteeing it for 3 years. If it's a
Right.
year and a half, 2 years, I'm okay. That third year starts to get up there. I've got to guarantee it. I don't want to do that. Not at this age.
And it's possible that they're arguing over when the money is guaranteed and how much of it is, because it's like I suggested, they're probably trying to push a lot of this to this year and next, because that's when they believe, most likely, that they believe that he's going to be the most effective when he's actually going to be worth what they're paying him. So if you push a lot of that guaranteed money to this year and next year, well, you still have 2 years left on that deal on a 3-year extension with little to no guaranteed money, so we're in the exact same situation again. So
Right.
it's
Right.
a sticky situation. And who knows what type of incentives or they're trying to jam into there to maybe make it look like he's getting paid more if he reaches them.
Yeah.
Some marker, who knows? I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what this agent is trying to do. I would be remiss if I did not inject some of our good friend Simon Short's opinions into this conversation, because me and him, we've been DMing each other. We've been going back and forth about this for the past couple of hours. And his rationale is that 31, he agrees with us. We agree, we just don't see eye to eye on the situation, I suppose.
That sounds just like a you and Simon
It
conversation.
is.
We agree, but we really just don't see this the same way.
No, we don't. He thinks 31 is the sweet spot. I agree. I think 30 to 32 is the sweet spot for Terry McLaurin, and I'll explain why here in a minute. But his rationale is, well, if he's better than DK Metcalf, which he agrees with, and I agree with, why shouldn't he want more than DK Metcalf? Which is true. Why shouldn't he? But I think the
Right.
Steelers overpaid, and I don't think any team in the NFL, including us, is going to want to pay Terry McLaurin more than 33 or even at 33. They're not going to want to pay him that and more, because Adam Schefter reported that he's looking for substantially more than DK Metcalf.
Right.
Now, now,
That's the kicker.
now, whether that's guarantees or whether that's AAV, that was never specified. But if he's wanting more, substantially more than DK Metcalf, then take a hike, dude. I'm sorry. I don't care how meaningful you are to the fan base. I don't care how much we love you, and we do. We love Terry McLaurin, right? We
Right.
respect him. He's been here through all the crap and clutter and through multiple regime changes. Nothing but respect, nothing but love for the guy. If you're asking for 35, $36 million a year, hit the road, man. I'm sorry. We don't have that. You know what we're trying to do here. That's just not going to work, okay? Simon's contention is because I mentioned to him that we have multiple extensions coming up. If Lattimore, Tunsil, Debo, Frankie Louvu, if they all play well, they're going to be in a position after this year to say, uh, it's going to be the exact same situation Terry's in right now. It's like, I have no guaranteed money left on my deal, and I need paid because I'm aging. I'm not getting any younger, and I need money because I've dealt with injuries in the past. I've dealt with other things in the past. I need money, and I need it now, or else I'm not playing. So you have 3 to 4 guys that are going to be in the same position that Terry's in, and then you have, after next season is over, Jaden's contract, if all goes well, right?
Right.
So
We hope.
there
We
is
hope.
a there's a lot to consider with this, right? Also, don't know if you heard, we're trying to build a stadium. That takes money up front. When you guarantee all these monies to players and contracts, guess what? You have to pay that up front. You don't pay that year over year. You pay all that guaranteed money up front and you put it in an account and it gets dispersed as needed. That's all footed by ownership. Like they foot that bill. All right. So there we're talking about $200 million between Terry, Tunsil, obviously thinking optimistic here about, Terry,
Yeah.
Tunsil, Lattimore, and Debo, all of that guaranteed money. That's going to add up to close to $200 million that the team
Yeah.
needs to pay in about a month period, plus everything else they're trying to do. But Simon's contention is, well, those are outside guys. That why aren't you taking care of your own, the guy that's been here and done that? And I agree with him, but at the same time, you can't pay elite money to not elite players. That's what gets teams in trouble, and that's what gets, if he could walk out tomorrow, they could get a deal done today. He could
Yeah.
walk out in camp tomorrow, even just in warm-ups, tear his ACL, and he's done.
Right.
I mean, that's just the matter of fact. It just is what it is. That's what the sport is. So even though I agree this should have been done months ago. I agree that he should get paid what he's worth. But let's stay in reality and not go to crazy town on this.
Yeah, that boy. I mean, we're hitting so many different good stuff here, and I'll try to keep it brief. I would be willing to offer Terry 3 years. I have no problem with 3 years, not four. If we tack on a fourth year, it's going to be some silly little tack on, hey, hang around number. But it's a 3 year deal for me. And at 3 years, at his age, I would be willing because I know it's important to him. I can tell it is. I know it's been important with other players for literally decades now. He thinks he should be getting more than DK. I would give him just barely more than DK at 33 and a half, 33 and a quarter, whatever. Just enough to say, yeah, I got more than DK. But if we're doing that, 3 years, 33 and a half, 33 and a quarter, the guarantee has to come down. We
Yeah.
cannot be sitting at 66 or 75 guaranteed. That is, you're asking for the moon, especially, we don't know, again, based on reports. If he's asking for 35, 36, then man, you really need to come down off that guaranteed. But if we settle in at 33 and a half, that's what I'm not crossing 33 and a half, 33 and a quarter. That's the DK mark. 3 years. The guarantee needs to start falling down to 50, $55 million. So where I'm not even fully guaranteeing 2 seasons, I'm guaranteeing a season and a half, which again, we're talking semantics here, but it's a
Yeah.
way for me to kind of flex here and give myself some breathing room somewhere. Now, I do like the idea because I've even said this before a month ago, I think, 2 months ago. I view Terry differently as a general manager than I do other players. Terry has been here for a long time, and I think he's good for 2 more seasons at his current production rate. I don't see him falling off next year. That's important. So viewing him that way is why I'm willing to get to that DK mark, which is probably too high, but oh well. But the guarantee comes down. And then next year, when we get to Laramie Tunsil, we'll talk about Laramie Tunsil. Lattimore is probably not going to get his extension out of me, more than likely. I'm just going to trade or release him, however that works out. And then we'll talk about the other guys when we get to them. Terry's a unique situation. I'm usually in the boat of, hey, let's keep these prices reasonable. We're not gonna be on the high end of player spectrum. It's usually not even the player, it's usually the agent suggesting this stuff. And the player's like, yeah, 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 I am worth that, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll get to that too in a second here. But that's where I would be. 3 years, 33 and a half tops, but the guarantee starts to fall down to like 55 mil for total guarantees. That's where I'm at currently.
I think if you guarantee between 50, probably like 58 and 63, around that high 50s, low 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Terry is not signing that right now.
Right,
Right. If you're guaranteeing less than that, I can understand why he might be a little upset, right? But
right.
if you're that believing in yourself, and if you believe you're that guy and you believe that you're healthy and all that, then we'll, put pen to paper, put your money where your mouth is, literally.
Yeah.
So something's got to give. I don't know what. And the reason we think this is if you'll see on the next slide there,
If you
it
don't mind, sorry, one more thing I want to
yeah,
insert
yeah, yeah,
real quick
please.
on this because
Yeah.
it is important, and I apologize for interrupting the flow.
No, 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 no.
Um, I'm not big on taking care of my own guys. I'm just not. Like I'm not in the business of taking care of people. I'm in the business of winning football games. So that's a philosophy I've heard general managers put out there to kind of placate the media, the fan base, and the player they're negotiating with. Hogwash. Nobody is in the taking care of business in the NFL. That
Yeah.
just is not a thing. Okay. Terry specifically, because I believe he's good for 2 more years, that's why I'm offering him the money. All right. Now, I also emotionally am attached to him because he's been through all the crap with us. But if I didn't think he could hold up his end of the bargain for the next 2 years, I wouldn't offer it. I'd just trade him and be done with it. It's performance based with the idea that, yeah, Terry has been good for us. That's why I'm willing to get to that 33 and a half. He's emotionally attached to the DK number. I'm emotionally attached to Terry because I believe he'll perform for 2 more years. I'm willing to guarantee 2 more years, essentially, at that number. So, but I'm just not huge on taking care of people. I'm just not in that business at all. But what I will say, man, when you look around the NFL and all the other players that have these contract problems, And you look back at our guys that are going to get older. Some of these other guys, like I mentioned Tunsil, you mentioned Lattimore, they're going to have the age consideration too. If I need to, I'll just trade them, or if I need to, I'll cut and release them. It's a Terry thing that we're talking about here. I'm not negotiating with five players here. I'm negotiating with one. If the others want what Terry's getting in future seasons, we'll have to talk. It'll be whether or not I believe that you've primed out or not, whether or not you've gotten over the hill here. So that's where I'm at on that. So here we go. Next
Yeah,
screen.
so the reason that we think that he's going to this that we think the sweet spot is around 30 to 32, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
back in 2022, once Terry signed this extension, that slotted him in terms of AAV amongst his contemporaries. That slotted him at around ninth. Okay. So he was
yeah.
in the top 10 conversation. He was monetarily in the top 10, right?
Right,
If we look at this year, where it would put him this year, what an extension would look like, it's going to be in that 30 to 32 million dollar range. If he gets paid 30.5 million dollars, that puts him as the number seven receiver. If he gets paid 32, that puts him right between AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson. Okay. I think the sweet spot is around 31 million.
yeah,
About 62 of
yeah.
that guaranteed two full seasons, push a lot of that to this season. That way the second extension year isn't as big of a financial commitment. And I don't know why he wouldn't be happy with that. I don't know why any player would not be happy with that if they were offered that deal. I don't know if
Yeah.
the agent I think the agent is the problem here. I think the agent told him that, you know what, DK just got paid. And guess what you're about to get paid, man? You're getting get paid so well. And then, that it didn't go that way. The team's like, hey, we're not every other organization in the NFL. And I dare say that nobody else is going to pay Terry McLaurin 33 and a half, $34 million. I don't even think we're going to do that. The only teams that would potentially do that are teams that are absolutely desperate to get back into the conversation. They just need one more where what they think is one more player to put them over the edge. I don't know what teams that would be. I don't know
Right,
if that would be like a Buffalo. I don't. It definitely wouldn't be Cincinnati. I don't know if that'd be a Baltimore. I don't know if that would be Miami doesn't need receivers. I don't know if that would be like an LA, even though they just added Devontae Adams. I don't know what team that would be, but it would be a team that is on the cusp of contending that thinks that a player like this is going to vault their offense into another stratosphere, right? But do they even have the money to do that, right? So, do you
right,
have something that's worth trading? And then second, do you have something that's, are you on that cusp, right? I don't think there's many teams out there that are willing to do that right now. And like the Arizona Cardinals are not going to do this. If he was in free agency, they would, right? But if they're not going to trade away something and then give him a massive extension, what to win maybe an extra game? So go 7-10 instead of 6-11. That's not going to work. I don't know what the solution is here. I don't even know if, like I said, that there's a trade partner out there that even be willing to listen to. Apparently, we've been denying trade offers. Like people have been, it
wow.
came out this morning. It was either this morning or yesterday that, we've been hearing trade offers and we've just been, no, he's not available. So, which is good, like hearing that. But do you think that there's even anyone out there that's one, a willing trade partner, and two, a trade partner that we'd want to deal with?
To me, yes and yes, and I kind of hate that, um, because I wish it would just kind of push everybody back to the bargaining table. One thing that allows people to take these hard stances is that I feel like there are people out there willing to trade for Terry, and exactly how much money they'll offer. If they'll offer 34, or if it's going to sit at 31 or 32, I don't know. But I do feel like there's people out here willing to make trade offers. The Patriots have been a team that's been mentioned multiple times over the past few weeks because they can pull it off, and they could use a wide receiver of Terry's caliber to really step in and help out that. But again, I do think there are teams out there that would do it. You mentioned the money here. Again, this is why I don't like this market topping crap. It's a bull crap market we're in. It's a bubble bursting market that we're in right now in terms of individual players. And everybody says we'll be happy for the players. I'm not. Listen, every dollar that Jamar Chase gets, or Justin Jefferson gets, or CeeDee Lamb gets, comes out of a linebacker's pocket, comes out of a defensive tackle's pocket, comes out of your right guard's pocket. All right, it's just reshuffling, redistributing of money. Somebody is missing out on that dollar if Jamar Chase gets it, just whoever. I don't care. It's not about being happy for the players. It's about who's going to get the money. Right now, the top young players are getting the money. And even if you're not going to top Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb, which of course you're not, you feel like, hey, I'm better than DK Metcalf. And you can see it here on this list. If we were ranking these receivers right here, I would have Metcalf probably ninth on this list or 10th, to be honest,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would have, Tyreek Hill, who's not quite what he used to be, but at the time he got the money, I would have had him farther up this list. T. Higgins, I would just as soon have as DK Metcalf. AJ Brown, I would have him slotted up there at like third or fourth. If we were ranking the talent of these receivers, but
Yeah.
what we have done here, and Tom Brady started this. I don't have time to get into this. Tom Brady started all this 15 years ago when he was taking less. It allowed people to leapfrog him money wise. That's where all this crap started. But agents can point to and say, that guy got that dollar amount. We should be getting more than him. And it's this market topping idea. I don't like it. But anyway, that's what's creating some of this confusion as well.
I mean, you can see that with the Brandon Ayuk deal there. I mean, when
Yes.
I'm sorry, Amon-Ra St. Brown, sorry, that
Yeah, right,
when
right.
I when Ayuk and Hill got paid, they're like, hey, just give me a little bit more, make me a little bit better than those guys. I mean, you know, no,
Well, and Ayuk's matching Hill. Why?
yeah,
At the
yeah,
time, Tyreek Hill was one of the top three, and Brendan Ayuk is one of the top 15. You know,
yeah, 15, 20, yeah, yeah. But so okay, you're Adam Peters for a second, or now you know what, you're Ben Parker GM. We fired Adam Peters. We hired
oh
Ben Parker as our
no,
GM. All right.
I like Adam Peters.
But you understand as GM that this deal's not going to get done. That we are too far
Okay,
apart.
yeah.
It's just not going to work. It's not going to fit in the plans. Okay. What are you looking for in a trade? Are you
That's
looking
rough.
for
I
picks?
mean,
Are you looking for player? Are you looking for both? Like what value are you trying to get back?
first of all, that makes me sad because as a fan, as a Ben Parker, as an Adam Peters, I realize one thing: we're not going to get anything of any significant value that will help us in 2025. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen. Some team may offer us a starting tight end. Oh well, that's nothing compared to what Terry will do. Some team may offer us a slot corner. You know,
Right. Yeah.
who's also aging, who needs a contract extension. That's not going to change the overall viewpoint of this year. In fact, we've lost a little bit. I need Terry on the field this year. I really do. So that would make me sad. But let's assume that's the case. Deal's not going to happen. Time to get a trade here. I'd be looking for number one, but not expecting it. I don't really expect that teams out there want to pay Terry this kind of money at his age, knowing he's got a contract dispute and give up a first round draft pick. If I were the other general managers out there, I wouldn't want to give up a first round pick. So I think realistically, I'd be looking for a second round draft pick along with maybe a four, a two and a four. I think in my head, again, I didn't go study this on the internet or
Right.
anything. In my head, I think I'd really realistically be looking at a two and a four. I don't really need your players. I just don't think you're going to offer me anything that's going to help me in 25, to be honest.
Would you be looking for maybe a younger, cheaper receiver that you can just kind of swap with, just I'm not saying I'm not proposing this trade, but like a Jackson Smith and Jigba, or in Seattle, or a Keon Coleman in Buffalo. Not saying they're even close to what Terry
Right,
is, right? But you're
right.
just hoping for that guy develops into something, right? I mean, it's no different than if you draft a guy that you get that guy back in a fourth or that guy back in a fifth, right? Like
Yeah.
is there anyone out there that you think could fit that bill that could be a contributor, but you're taking a step down, but that's okay because of the potential?
Not that I would want that other teams would be willing to part with. They've
Fair
got to
enough.
be good enough in my head because I'm not looking for pick 60 here. I'm looking for pick 40 in the draft, right? When I think of a second round draft pick.
Right.
So they've got to be good enough potential wise to have passed anything I might get with the top 40 pick in the wide receiver category. Most teams know they've got a good young wide receiver who's starting to develop, right? You know, are there guys out there that are young that haven't yet kicked it into gear that could possibly contribute this year? Absolutely, man. Yes, there are. I'd rather just have that second round pick and be done with it. To be honest, I'm just not sure that there's a young. You know, if you're in the audience, you're listening, throw it in the comments. If there's a young wide receiver out there that you're like, hey, we could pull this trade off and get a fourth round pick with it, I'd be listening, but I just don't think they're going to offer me a guy. What so often happens, man, these general managers, they know each other. It's like, hey, yeah, I'll give you this young receiver who's not really developed for us, but hey, you might get its potential out. I'm like, man, well, if y'all couldn't, why should I be able to, you know? So I'm just not sure I want to go down that road unless I really like the wide receiver. But if I like the wide receiver, so's the other team going to like him too, you know?
No. I I'm going to say this because this is kind of our last point. It would not shock me if in the next couple of days that we hear that Terry McLaurin has fired Buddy Baker as his agent because I think that Buddy Baker is talking crazy town and team might be lowballing a little bit, but they're in more realistic territory. They might be in that 28-29 range. Okay. Why do I say that? Other than the fact that I think he might be talking crazy town. He hasn't exactly represented the best. Um, Recognizable names on this list. Okay, you got, Deshaun Wharton, Jeremy Chin, Reed Blankenship, Shaq Griffin, starting caliber players, not players that you'd consider even in the top half in of the league in their respective positions. Like you recognize some of those names, especially like, a guy like Reed Blankenship, who's still a young guy that's probably going to be working towards a second contract here soon, which I'm sure he's looking at this contract negotiation rather closely, right? Based on his performance in Philadelphia. Terry McLaurin is by far and away, and it's not even close, by far and away his biggest client. Based on the way that things have transpired, I don't know that I have the full confidence that this guy has knows how to handle the situation because he hasn't yet at all so far, you know? And we've seen it happen multiple times where in heated contract negotiations and then the player fires his agent and then 2 or 3 days later they have a deal and it's like, well, why couldn't you have done this
Right.
months ago, right? So the fact that we've gotten to this point, and I'm half tempted to wonder, has the team reached out directly to Terry? Like I don't know how any of this necessarily works in terms of the negotiation process, but I wonder if Adam Peters has been like, "Hey Terry, like I don't know what your agent's telling you, but we're trying to get this thing done and like I don't know if what kind of communication you guys are having, but here's what we're really talking about." Like I wonder if that has happened yet. I would assume that it would have, but I also you know, can't guarantee that that's happened because, it has to go through certain steps, right? I mean, it just has to. That's the way that this thing works. But I'm half tempted. I'm willing to bet that by the end of this week, or probably maybe beginning next week, that we might hear, yeah, Buddy Baker's no longer Terry McLaurin's agent.
All right. You got me wanting to go two different directions at once, which is always the sign of a great host. So let me start. I don't have any experience with Buddy Baker, so I'll shy away from Buddy Baker specifically. I will talk about one of his clients, and then I'm going to talk about agents in general because it's a great, fantastic point about agents in general that almost never gets talked about in the media. But one of his agents, number two on the list right there, Tershawn Wharton for Carolina, used to be on Kansas City, got a ridiculous contract to go play for Carolina. It was way more than I ever expected him to get. Congratulations to Tershawn. That money's coming from some linebacker or some right guard somewhere. Okay. But um, it was way more than he's a rotation guy, like I think 600 snaps is the most he's ever played. In a lot of seasons, he's played less than 500 snaps. And, while he's a good rotational guy, for him to have gotten that kind of money was insane. So old Buddy's already pulled this off for one guy, got a ridiculous number. I'm sure coming off of that, that was just a few months ago, right? I'm sure coming off of that, he's looking at Terry and going, yeah, heck yeah, Terry's my best client here. I need to do the same for him. Who knows? Again, I haven't dealt with Buddy, but agents in general, agents like to tell everybody that they're not fighting for the team, they're fighting for the players, and that's bullcrap. Agents are fighting for themselves, which
Yeah.
is fine. Okay, I got no problem with that. All right, but the idea that the agents are fighting for whatever player they're representing, they're not. These agents all have a client list, and they all want to be able to say, hey, look what I did for that guy. I can do the same for you. Why don't you come and join my client list? Instead of being with whatever agency you're with, come over here and be with me. Okay. Besides that, you get the high profile of it. You get the ego boost, you get the attention, you get your name in all the articles. It's a win-win for the agent whenever they can get their player a whole bunch of money, or at least an average annual value number that looks impressive, no matter what the guarantees are. Because a lot of people aren't going to bother with the guarantees except for us hardcore football people, right? The rest of the media is just going to grab that AAV and run with it, and the agent looks great, the player's happy, and the agent can go say, hey, man, profile player XYZ, come join me. I can do the same for you. And slowly but surely, you start to get some real power as an agent that way. It takes time. Buddy's kind of getting his feet wet with some of this right here, but he already did it for Tershawn. So he's doing it for trying to do it for Terry as well. It's a great point you bring up, even though I don't have any experience with Buddy himself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Terry's a very, obviously, based on the past 6, 7 years, Terry is a very loyal person,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
he's giving Buddy every benefit of the doubt that he possibly can, right? Because it was Buddy that told him to do this, to request a trade. I don't think Terry just all of a sudden, because he wants to get to
I
work.
don't
He
think
said
so.
as much. He
Yes.
wants to get to
Yeah.
work. He wants to be on the field.
He doesn't want to move. He's already said that too.
Yeah. Yeah, he does what he wants to have his family here. He's said
Right.
as much. The fact that Buddy's telling him to do all this, and if the team still continues to not budge, I mean, I don't know that Terry might not have a choice unless he truly wants a trade.
Yeah. I see. I think you're right. And again, I don't think anybody's reading this into it. No one is suggesting that the players don't know what's going on, but the players have to trust their agent who's representing them. So often the players will say, I want this, this, and this, get it done. And the agent will say, fine, I'll handle all the dirty work. You don't have to be involved in any of that, which is good. That's important. That
Right.
that needs to happen. But so often then the agent is taking advantage of that, right? Now he's playing
Hmm.
his own game, making his own demands, and he'll go back and tell the player, hey, this is just leverage. This is just, us swinging back and forth. And sometimes that's just not the case. So, here we are, we're stuck. I'm not saying the team's not at fault here too, because I don't know exactly what they're offering. We got our reports, right? But people like Adam Schefter, they're only as good as the information that's being given to them. So is Terry asking for extreme north of 33, like at 35 or 36? Is the team sitting far south of 29, like at
Yeah.
27?
Yeah.
That we don't know exactly, but there's a big enough impasse here where the agent's starting to get itchy feet and making this trade request here.
Yeah. I don't think the team's innocent in all of this, but
Yeah,
the agent definitely is not helping things because if he was, I feel like a deal would be done. I feel like the
yeah,
team's
I
being
agree.
sensible. They might be being strict, but I think they're being sensible enough to where there could have been an even or a middle ground reached at this point. But
Man,
I
there's
think the
always a
agent's
middle
the ones
ground.
digging their feet. I think it's the agent that's digging their heels in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know, man. This is one reason I wish I was in the room with all these people,
Yeah,
right? I say the
yeah,
room. It's not always even in a room. Sometimes it's over the phone, right? But I wish I was privy to so much of this, and we don't get to be.
yeah.
We don't know who said what and who dealt with who, and who's hoping to get another deal for another player because of this, or who's trying not to give Terry top money because they don't want to set the standard for future players. Man, you just never know what's really going on inside some of these people's heads or being talked about. But there was a middle ground here. It has not yet been reached for sure.
All right. Any other thoughts on Terry?
I hope this gets done.
Yeah.
The Commanders, we've already talked about the talent problems on defense. They need to have a high octane offense.
Hmm.
Terry's their best weapon. They really need him. I know the offensive line's better. I know they've got new weapons to work with. That's all great. It won't work without Terry. It just will not be the same. Not this year. So for 2025, they need Terry on the team and in the building. Beyond that, you can start to rework the roster. But for 25, if you're going to have any hopes of a really true, successful Super Bowl ish kind of a season, Terry's got to be a part of that. He has to be.
Has to be. Has to be. All right. A couple quick shout outs. Make sure that one that you're subscribed to this channel of Pro Football Enterprises. Also go make sure that you're subscribed to Box Score Network YouTube channel. Latest video that's up right now, unless it might be this video as well. We get posted both places. But on the Box Score Network, trivia night, Know Your Steelers. It was a fantastic night. It was me,
Yeah.
you, Ben, a bunch of the guys from Box Score just having a big trivia night. And this was a clip about our knowledge of some of the Steelers players and stats and all that. It was a fun time. I just watched it last night because I was like, I want to see this again. I want to see how this unfolded, and it was I got a few laughs out of it, and it was a lot of fun. So make sure you go check that out over on Box Score Network. Go watch the latest video and subscribe to that channel as well. And while you're at it, these podcasts here, Simon and Friends. He just posted our good friend Simon Short, who his opinion was in this video. We made sure that he just posted his podcast this morning, Two Peas in a Pod. They have some great content in the flat. It's college football season 2. Make sure you go check them out. Our show, me and Ben show, odds on favorite. We just posted a couple days ago, and because CONCACAF, we're right in the middle of soccer season all over the world, really, it feels like.
Yeah.
So, and Tricky Takes baseball season, man, trade deadline stuff. So make sure you go check them out as well. I mean, all these are great podcasts, great content that's being put out. So please go check them out, subscribe to those podcasts, and thank you all for joining us. Hopefully, the next video will be Terry signing an extension.
Yes. That's what we hope. All right. Enjoy it, everybody. Have a great one.